Okay, so hi, this is Michelle, and this is the next episode of Not a Standard. So today we have our very first guest on this podcast, and she's been a friend of mine on Instagram since the beginning, day ones, and she's been pretty awesome because we've both seen each other grow. In just a short amount of time, she went from being focused on bodybuilding to going to Bali on a yoga retreat. And I went from my struggle with anorexia to healthy and being scared of flying to flying all the way to California. So completely different places, and it's pretty awesome. But to better introduce her today, her name is Grace, and she's a holistic health coach with a bachelor's and master's degree in exercise science. She is a certified personal trainer and is also certified in yoga, breathwork, and meditation. Her goal as a coach is to guide people to tune into their own body and learn how to move, eat, and live from a place of love and respect for themselves. Like myself, she also believes that each individual is unique and that there is no one-size-fits-all approach to wellness. So without further ado, I'd like to officially welcome my first guest and friend, Grace, to the podcast.
Hi, so happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So if you're okay with it, I'd love to just go right into it and ask you all these questions.
I'm fine with that. Let's go.
Yeah, I know everyone is probably curious to know your story and how you went from bodybuilding to yoga retreat in Bali. Totally feels like an eat, pray, love situation. I've said to you on Instagram so many times.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your story, just where this all started, where your love of bodybuilding came into the picture?
Yeah. I mean, in high school, I feel like it really began, I just got into sports and I played sports, and then I kind of found the gym, and the gym made me feel really strong as a female. So I started that. And then in college, long story short, I started working at a gym at the front desk to make some extra money and then to get a free gym membership. And there, everybody was that was a thing. Everyone was doing these bodybuilding shows, and I was like, what's this? And someone just said, you should do one. And I said, okay. And so that kind of led me into that. And I think I saw how my body changed and how much sort of attention I got as my body changed. And it was kind of this snowball effect and really easy. And at that time, I kind of was really oh my gosh, all these women have these really beautiful, thin, no body fat, but strong. And I was and they seem so happy. And so I was I felt if I had that, I would feel that way. And unfortunately, I had a really nice body and I was doing really good in shows, but on the inside, I was super unhealthy. I had really bad body dysmorphia. I developed hormone issues. That's kind of when I would say the root of my gut issues began. And so after 3 years of that, when nothing got better, and I think, things just kept getting worse, I finally one day I remember I was I can't do this anymore. And I found a yoga studio, and I'd always kind of known what yoga, and every now and again to a yoga class. And I went to this chakra based yoga class, and I remember I started crying in child's pose, and I was this is so weird. Why am I crying? I don't cry. I wasn't emotional at all then. I was a strong bodybuilding girl. And that really led me down the path of learning more about the holistic lifestyle. And that then led me into getting certified in yoga. And Bali, honestly, just came out of nowhere. I'm going to tell you, I was looking at getting certified in yoga, and I was just researching it. And then I was oh my gosh, people go to Bali. What? I didn't even know where Bali was. And then I remember calling my mom one day, and I was yeah, I have to go to Bali to study yoga.
Yeah.
And I the first time I went was in 2018, and then I just went this past year again. So
that is so cool. So was it hard to slow down your lifestyle from doing HIIT, and what was the hardest part, the mentality, or just?
Yeah, I think it was, for me, learning to let go of the control, because for so long I was so, and you probably know this, with food and anorexia, having that control, being able to have that power. For me with the working out and the controlled eating, it made me feel I had everything in control. When we know that we really don't. Yeah. We can control how we respond, but we have no control over really, what's going to happen next in life. And so I think the biggest thing, which I still struggle with, and I think everyone does, especially the type A personalities, but having to just let go of that control and trust my body and trust that I could eat intuitively and move intuitively, and just, I didn't need the diet and the working out to have happiness.
Okay, so just one day you just decided to do yoga and then that was it, or was it
I
just
mean,
more of like
it was like one
a
day that
messy
happened,
path?
and then yeah, and then slowly I like would start to go to yoga maybe instead of go to the gym. And then like slowly I started to, stop counting macros and starting to play with like a plant-based diet, or just play with like focus on, different whole foods and finding different recipes. And then, I definitely like gained some weight and gained some fat, and then I had that fear again. And so maybe I would like get track for a little bit, but then that I would start to have again like gut issues and like that anxiety. And so then I pull back, and then like, it's like this sort of give and take and give and take. And even today, there's still some days where I like struggle, I'm like, how many grams protein am I eating? Like, am I eating enough protein? Because you see on Instagram. And so, and then I have to think about like, I trust that I crave this day, I crave a steak, and tomorrow I crave a salad with no protein on it. And like, I think that learning to trust your body and
Mm-hmm.
not have so much, we take so much in every day, especially from social media, which makes us like really question when in reality we know what's best for ourselves. But it's hard. It's hard when that is always surrounding us, and someone's telling us to be paleo, somebody's telling us to go on a run, somebody's telling us to lift
Mm-hmm.
weights, somebody's telling us to do Pilates, and you're like, I
Yeah.
don't know. And so for myself, and also when I work with my clients, I really focus on, okay, well, after we do this kind of workout, how do you feel the next few days? Or
Mm-hmm.
especially with women and our cycles, and like I've gotten really into cycle syncing and hormone health, and
Mm-hmm.
trying to work with my body versus work against my body.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about that because I remember seeing like a most recent post, and it's like by doing less, you actually saw the results that you wanted to see. So can you like
Mm-hmm.
go like into that a little
Yeah,
bit more?
yeah.
Like, how does that work?
I think especially as a female, and someone, especially when I was doing so much working out, my nervous system was just shot. And
Mm-hmm.
so my cortisol was through the roof. And so my body was actually holding on to fat because it didn't feel like safe.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a lot of women can relate to this. I know many women, because sometimes they come to me and they're doing HIIT workouts every day and they're eating a super low calorie diet, and they're not losing fat. They're not seeing the results even when they are truly eating like that many calories. And usually their nervous system is shot. And so they can't
Mm-hmm.
relax. They're not sleeping well. They also are not managing their stress. Stress is so huge when it comes to like changing your body and changing your physique, because even if you're doing the best workouts and you have the perfect diet, if you have stress or a perceived stress, you're not going to get the results you want because your body is not able to relax. When your cortisol is high, your body holds on to fat. And so I really started focusing on just like resetting my nervous system with the yoga, with the meditation, with the breath work, and many like other different modalities. And I think that has really helped me. I don't even weigh myself anymore. I don't really think that's a good measure of like goals and stuff like that for most people. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, are there like any particular foods that you would suggest for like these clients to eat or like
Yeah, I
workouts? I
mean,
think you mentioned yoga and meditation and all that stuff.
yeah, I mean, I definitely recommend for workouts like strength training, along with like strength training and walking, and one day of some sort of mobility, whether it's yoga or just a mobility or stretching, whatever fits your lifestyle and whatever you enjoy. And then I personally love Pilates. Not everyone does, but I think a combination of those, and here and there, especially with my women clients, we can sprinkle in like some days of HIIT. Some people love to do HIIT. They love that nice, good sweat, or they love to go on a run. So like you can sprinkle those in, but I don't recommend those for most people every day, especially if you're living in America and it's this high sort of stress and high strung and going a lot, because when you are working out that difficult, it is a stress on your body.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't usually like recommend those super high calorie burning workouts like more than really once or twice a week, depending on what the rest of your day and what the rest of your life looks like. As far as foods, just focusing, I mean, it's like it's simple, but it's not easy. And
Yeah.
you also, when I personally am, I'm all about balance, and so it's like
Mm-hmm.
eating foods that my first recommendation is eating whole sourced foods. Like if it grows in the ground, eat it.
Yeah.
And I try to as well, I'm all about kind of like the balanced plate. So if someone comes to me and they have no idea about like proteins, carbs, and fats, we might, start a little bit of like, okay, what are the carbs? What are the proteins? What are the fats? What do they do for your body? Now,
Mm-hmm.
what sources of food? So then you can learn like, okay, I know that eggs are a source of protein, but they have fat in them. I know that oatmeal is a main source of carbs, but it has fiber, so it's going to keep me fuller longer. I know that blueberries are an antioxidant, so that's going to help with inflammation, and things like that. So I try to like teach people versus just like, I will never just give someone a meal plan or say, okay, here's how many calories you should eat. Just eat whatever and fill the calories, because I don't believe that all food is equal. And I do believe that different foods offer different benefits. I don't believe in cutting all foods out. I'm a girl who, I love a good margarita. I love a good, I got some ice cream last Friday, full
Ooh.
dairy ice cream. And I enjoyed it, but then I noticed after, I was like, wow, I did enjoy that. But like, I definitely feel bloated, and I definitely feel like my nose starts to get runny, and I
Mm-hmm.
start to get like this little allergy. And like, that has really like, when you do really focus on the food and what you're putting in your body and how it feels, it's like, I want to eat the ice cream every now and again, but why would I want to eat that every day when it does make me feel low energy, a little bit groggy, a little bit bloated? So it's like just really learning to get in tune with your body and how you personally, because you might not react that way to ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
You might react that way to even like even some vegetables and some fruits. Like not everyone responds the same to those.
Yeah, I totally get that as well. Like even me and my boyfriend is like, I can't eat vegetables because they make me sick, and I'm like, what? Who are you? But everything reacts differently to every single
Yeah,
person out
I
there.
can't eat like a lot of quinoa, or I get
Yeah.
really really bad stomach ache. I love quinoa, but I can't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just crazy. But like you said, like I think one of the things that really helped me with my struggle was just learning the functionality of foods and just seeing like how each food was helping me to like thrive and like grow muscle and to get stronger and to see that like I could weigh more but look leaner almost as well. I think that's something
Mhm.
that really helped me and probably helped you as well.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so yeah, like thanks for sharing that. So I have to ask, like, what does your life look like now? Like as a holistic health coach, like what does your morning look
Yeah.
like daily routines and habits?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still like, I've been back from Bali for, I guess, what is September, almost like a little over a month and a half, and I still feel like I'm sort of like easing back
Yeah.
in because it is so different here to there. But yeah, recently I kind of have my hands in a few different things. So I train in person in the town that I live in. I also teach yoga classes and Pilates and strength classes. So my days are kind of filled at going to different gyms. And then I also train people online and do like virtual health coaching. So I allot time for those. So I really, it's not the best right now because I don't have a set schedule, and I'm trying to like formulate that. And I've definitely felt a little bit like busy and anxious, and I've noticed myself like really having to stick to my habits and my routines that I had in place and that I've set for myself so that I don't sort of like fall back into that control that I love to
Mm-hmm.
have.
Yeah. So does that mean like getting up early and like doing meditation or like what is your
So
morning
like,
routine?
yeah, my morning routine usually in most days, this isn't to say every day, because like some days I have clients I have like one day a week I have clients at 6 a.m. But
Mm-hmm.
usually I wake up, I drink a big glass of water. Sometimes I add lemon in it, and then I use an app called Insight Timer. So there's different meditations on those. I highly recommend it. It's a free app, and they have like a huge variety of meditation. So I'll find a meditation on there, and then I also use my this is like my favorite journal. I don't know if you've used it, the 5 minute journal.
I've heard of it.
It's great. I love it because it's like simple enough that it offers you like some gratitude and what you're looking forward to, but it's not too much where it takes like 20 minutes. I think it maybe takes me 5 to 6 minutes to do that. And then I usually after that, sometimes I'll go on a walk if I have the time allotted for that, or I'll make breakfast and I'll enjoy a breakfast before I go off to train clients.
Yeah. So what are your like breakfasts look like or meals or
Right
is there a
now,
structure?
Again, kind of like I talked about, I always kind of go into thinking, especially with breakfast, to have it like what some sorts of protein, some sorts of carb, and some sorts of fat. I've recently got into sourdough baking and making
Hmm.
bread. So I've been love like sourdough bread with avocado toast, with avocado and an egg on top. That is like, if I have time to make that, I will make that. I also love if it's like, if I don't have a ton of time, I do like the overnight chia pudding.
Hmm.
And then the next day I add in, so it's just like chia and milk. I use coconut milk and then I let that sit overnight. And then the next day I usually add fruit, nuts, nut butter, coconut, whatever I have in the fridge. I throw that in there. Sometimes I'll do smoothies. I just feel like even if I put a lot of stuff in it, whenever I have a liquid for breakfast, I just find that like I still get hungry like within 2 hours. And like
Hmm.
usually my mornings run, like I usually have to have a late lunch. So I need some like good sustenance. In the winter and fall, I love oatmeal. Like I'm excited for like oatmeal bowls. I love like hashes. I'm a big breakfast girly.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I love
Except
coffee too.
my boyfriend and I tried to make sourdough. We made sourdough one day and then we killed the starter on accident. So now we
It's
got another
hard.
starter. And we're going to try to make banana bread with the sourdough mix. I don't know. We're doing it
Yeah.
tonight. So I don't even know how it's
Oh
going
my
to
gosh, you'll have to
turn
tell
out
me
or
how it
not.
turns out. I'm
Yeah, if it
excited.
turns
I mean,
out.
I've definitely had a number of fails and
Yeah.
I have kept my starter alive. There's been days though where it's been like, I'm like, but for the most part, it's good and active. But it is like, it's like having like, it's a pro.
Yeah.
Like you have to really pay attention because you can't forget to feed your starter or like it will easily die.
Yeah. Yeah. I found that out the hard way.
I'm glad you got
Yeah.
another one though.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, kind of. A little intimidated as well.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
yeah, but yeah, same like with breakfast as well. Like I feel like I have to have breakfast every morning, otherwise I get like cranky, and that's not good.
No, we cannot
Yeah,
have hangry girls out
yeah,
here.
I know. Yeah, so I know everyone would probably kill me if I didn't ask, but can you tell us more about the yoga retreat in Bali? Because I remember you writing that you did like a 5 day silent retreat, and I'm like, how
Hmm.
did she do that? Like, how is that even possible?
Yeah, I got so excited for that actually. Before I had gone, the most silence I had was like I did a 1 day silent retreat a couple years ago, and so I was like, okay, 5 days, and I mean, it was in week, so it was a 5 week program total, and it was in week 3. And they did a really nice job of like, it wasn't like, okay, you're silent for 5 days, good luck, bye.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I liked that it really was like facilitated and done in a really good way. So like we had a pretty strict schedule where we'd like wake up and we'd have a meditation at 7:30 and then we'd have a breakfast and then we'd have like a reflection and like then a yoga practice. And so like while we couldn't talk and you weren't supposed to like look at people, you couldn't use your phone, you couldn't read, you couldn't listen to books. Basically you could eat, sleep, go on walks, do yoga, meditate, and like that was it. And it was really, it made me just like, I remember this one day I was like on a walk and then I like sat down and I watched like these ants for like over an hour, just like live their whole life. These little ants. And like if I would have had my phone or like been with someone, you
Mm-hmm.
don't pay attention to that around you. So it really just made me super aware of like nature and life and my thoughts, and just take a step back again from like I kind of talked about earlier, like we consume so much, especially now our
Mm-hmm.
phone is always in our hands. And like after those 5 days, even like picking my phone up again, I was a little bit like anxious. Like I don't want to, go back into that world. And I love social media and I've met so many people.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've met so many people, but it's also like just like with food and working out, anything, like really having that balance of taking time to just be with yourself and then also, learning to, because it can be so easy to get caught in scroll doom on Netflix, clicking
Mm-hmm.
next. And it's like having the balance of like knowing, am I using this intentionally? And am I doing this like intentionally watching the show, intentionally, mindfully on Instagram, or am I just mindlessly scrolling and just consuming, but trying to avoid maybe other things that I should be dealing with or what I should be doing? And I think that everyone has to sort of learn where that line is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I, for myself, try not to be on my phone like an hour within waking and an hour within going to bed to sort of like set those limits. And then like with during the day, I try to just like set time limits on like, okay, I'll go on social media for this long. I'll respond to comments. I'll respond to messages. I'll, interact with some people and then
Yeah.
do something else.
Yeah, I would love social media, but I also feel like I am happier when I'm not on it all the time. Just
And
like
like,
I feel
yeah.
like it's subconsciously comparing your life to somebody else's and your experiences to someone else's. And
Hmm.
I know in the past, like when I was struggling, it's like, why is it so hard for me? And like XYZ looks healthy and happy, and she's eating this, and she's working out here, and she's going on this vacation, and meanwhile, I was
Yeah.
like, I was at home, like doing yard work or something, like struggling with
Hmm.
food and fitness, and it's just like, it's like that subconscious like part of you that just compares
Yeah.
yourself. So
Yeah.
it's kind of
And
like,
I try to remind myself, and you probably do too, but just like, when you see in social media, you only see like a fraction of someone's life. And like back to Bali, like I only had like access to internet. Like if I was in a space with internet, I didn't have like I didn't have 5G over there. And so that also really made me aware because I couldn't be like in a car scrolling or like walking and scrolling because like I didn't have internet around, and that made me like again just like super aware of my surroundings and stuff like that. So Bali's incredible. I'm
yeah,
trying to go back as soon as I can because I love it there. If you ever have a chance to go. It's just a magical place. Like
yeah,
it's just magical.
yeah. I feel like I would struggle with the stillness. I still have a hard time with stillness. It's
Yeah,
just,
it's oh my
it's,
gosh. And it's like I anyone who can like and it's I try to tell people like it truly is like working out or like eating healthy. You don't just sit in
mm-hmm.
meditation and go, you're not just like a yoga like, okay, I'm calm and peaceful. No, it's like
Yeah,
the point of meditation is not to clear the mind. I always tell people the point of
mm-hmm.
meditation is to become aware of what is coming in the mind and aware of how you are responding. So when you're sitting in meditation, you're going, crap, I don't want to be in meditation. Like, okay, you're having that thought, now what?
Yeah,
Now sit there and keep going. And so like I encourage people just if like you feel like I can't sit in meditation and my mind's too
mm-hmm.
crazy, like you do need to sit in meditation and practice. Start with 2 minutes a day.
Yeah,
2 minutes a day here, and then slowly just like you don't go out and do like, a 1 RM squat with 205 pounds if you've never done a squat in your life. So,
yeah,
like, if you've never meditated, I would not tell you to go do a 5 day silent retreat because it's going to be
mm-hmm.
very overwhelming and you're not going to be able to handle it. Start with meditating 2 minutes a day, or start, maybe look in your town and find a meditation class or download an app. And so, like, build yourself up. It's not meant to just become like this. Oh, I'm a meditator. My mind is clear. I'm
Yeah,
so peaceful and zen. Like, no, it's not. That's not
yeah,
how meditation is. It's a
yeah.
constant practice.
Yeah, like you said, I like Insight Timer because it has like the guided meditations. Because I feel like when
Hmm.
I'm just there in silence, I'm like, okay, I have to do this, and then I have to do this, and then I have to play with Harrison and this, and like the list goes on and on. So as long as there's somebody like guiding and telling story, it's like I'm paying attention to my body and like the
Yeah.
story. So I feel like
Yeah.
that's like a good like transition for people that don't meditate,
For sure. Oh
and
my
it's
gosh,
free.
for sure. Yes, and it's free. And it's free.
Yeah.
And if you don't want that, you can go on you like nowadays you can go on YouTube. Like there's so many
Mm-hmm.
free resources out there
Yeah.
that you can use.
Yeah. So like in this like stillness and in this retreat, like what were like the most like important things that you learned? Hard
I
question,
think
I
the
know.
the main thing, yeah, this yoga training was very different from the previous one, and it had a lot of focus to more do with like the movement of energy and the chakras, if you're
Mm-hmm.
familiar with that, and that really opened my eyes because in the West, yoga has become very westernized, and
Mm-hmm.
it is still a little bit Zen, but it's still more about the workout. And it's more about learning to kind of stand on your head. And in the East, in the Eastern traditions, yoga was created so that monks could sit in meditation longer. And so now I sort of view yoga as this way to like balance that energy within my own chakras. Oop, and the chakras also of like my students. Um, but it's like it's very difficult to bring that here because it is such a different style of yoga and how I was teaching, and I always kind of had that essence, but like this is even more so.
Yeah.
So starting to slowly incorporate those sort of pieces into my own practice, and into the practice with my students.
Yeah. Yeah. That's Yeah, that's awesome. So, like, I know, like you said, that it was like hard to readjust to like the American routine and just getting back into the
Hmm.
swing of things. Like you were saying, like their yoga is completely different than our yoga. Like, what made it so difficult just going from like the meditation to just
Being, yeah,
fast
yeah,
paced
being
lifestyle?
in Bali, like it's just a much slower paced lifestyle. They don't
Mm-hmm.
have the same, um, like there, like there's no highways there. There's not like people don't like people get they work hard there, but it's not this sort of like hustle, um, get to the top, go, 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 achieve more mentality. Like they take their time and you'll always see them sitting in groups and laughing and they usually all the family stays together, so like even as you grow up you stay with your parents and like you get married and then usually the parents live like with the married couple now and there's always kids playing in the streets and there's always dogs running in the streets, and when you go into a restaurant like you sit down and you don't they never come to you unless you're like, hey, I'm ready to order. Like it's very like chill, like laid back, like they're never like, what do you want, like it's like you're like, say, when I'm ready to order, I'm ready to order. And so then sort of coming back into this lifestyle, and I wasn't working there, so that also,
Yeah.
I was doing a little bit of work online and creating some content, but I wasn't having that, so I was just, my nervous system was just able to totally relax, and I was towards the end, I was by the beach, so I was getting that sort of
Mm-hmm.
groundedness of the water and the earth element. And then you come back here, and I live in a pretty big city, and there's just a lot going on. And so, yeah, it's just like a very different way of life. And I was there for almost 10 weeks. So I was like totally immersed into that and totally immersed into just like getting up and going to a workout and going to breakfast and working
Mm-hmm.
for a little bit at breakfast and then going to the beach, and just like, sort of taking my day as it comes. And then you come back here and it's like, get up, go work, do this. And so I'm trying to sort of see how I can sort of flow those elements into my day,
Mm-hmm.
and it's still taking some adjustment. My gut also, like everything over there is organic and made fresh, and I was always having like tempeh bowls and tofu bowls and like scrambles, and just like everything was delicious and so fresh. And then you come back here and even when you try to eat healthy here, there's still a lot of like,
Yeah.
the dressings and the sauces, and if you go out to eat, what oil is it cooked in? And so it's like the first place that I hold stress and the first place I notice that is in my gut. And so my body was
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yeah.
we want to go back to Bali.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, like how different the foods are from one place to the next. It's just
Yeah.
insane. And even just like, I mean, even not even talking about like food safety and all of that stuff. Like even speaking from like New York to California, like I was
Hmm.
in like New Jersey and like I'd go out to eat and like there would be like it's all like franchise like restaurants and stuff like that. And then I come out to
Yeah.
California and it's like fresh fish and like vegetables and like it's just like totally different and there's more like healthy options here. So I feel like Bali, wherever you are now, it's just like completely different. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
It's totally different. So I'm still sort of, getting back to adjusting to that. And again, like there I didn't have the option. Like I would have a drink every now and again, but there's no really like chips or like candy or like processed foods of that sort. And so like you do, even I'm like tempted by that stuff, or like I wasn't eating any like protein bars. And so like, now I'm really having to be mindful of like, okay, if I only have, sometimes I'm busy with clients during lunch and I only have time to like get a quick smoothie or grab a bar. And so it's like just trying to find the balance in that as well.
Mhm. Yeah, so then like in getting back, then what did you shift? Like just your yoga and anything else? Like did you like incorporate different foods or like to help you?
Definitely more plant-based foods, because there I
Mhm.
pretty much ate all plant-based with a little bit of fish. And before I'd come here, I was heavily eating meat. So I've incorporated some meat back in, but I'm very, very mindful of where my meat comes from. I will
Yeah.
usually only buy like organic grass-fed,
Mhm.
with eggs, like again, like cage-free, organic. So that would be probably the biggest thing I'm like super, super aware of, is being like very aware of where my meat products come from.
Yeah.
And then trying to have more of an array of like eating more. I was eating like a variety, but am trying to even like stretch that more of like the different variety of plants, like trying to get like jicama or like edamame or sauerkraut or, having cabbage, like just
Mhm.
more plants to like vary my gut microbiome even more. Because I've always sort of, especially after restricting for so long with
Mhm.
bodybuilding, when I only ate like 10 food groups, I think that my gut microbiome got a little imbalanced. And so trying to get, in now, instead of focusing on like, oh, I need to eat less, I'm like, how can I incorporate 5 different
Mhm.
colors of vegetables in this salad versus just having lettuce?
Yeah. Do you use like any supplements or anything of that nature?
So I'm currently working with a naturopath to sort of
Okay.
help with some of the balancing of my gut. So I don't know what they are because they're like tinctures and you put them under your tongue.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, so I'm taking like a few tinctures, and I'm
That's be-
taking,
that's before meal, right?
yes, yeah, I
It's
take
like
those.
bitters, right?
Yeah,
Are they
digestive
called
bitters is
bitters?
one, but I have one up here. I am taking, let me grab it because I don't have it up here actually.
But it's supposed to help
Um,
digestion, I think, as
yeah, so it's
well.
to help with
Yeah.
digestion and the breakdown of food. So I have she does like muscle testing with me, so I take those. I currently take Elix Healing, which is like also a
Okay.
tincture, and it's for hormones. It's to
Mhm.
help, and so I take that a week before my cycle starts to help manage some of those symptoms. It's like a Chinese medicine herbal
Yeah.
supplement. I don't know if this is supplement, but I do ginger as like real ginger, and I make ginger
Mhm.
tea that helps with stomach, and then I will take turmeric if I'm feeling inflamed. So those are probably the ones. Oh, and I take Juice Plus.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the supplements that I'm currently taking, but I
And
go
protein
back to my
powders?
nut. I every now and again, if I like, again, like I'm in a rush and I don't have time to eat a meal after a workout, I will take, I use Sun Warrior protein.
Okay.
So I'll use that. Or if I'm making like protein balls, I like to make protein balls, I'll use the Sun
Oh, that
Warrior
sounds good.
protein. Yeah, I have to use a plant base. I found that whey, if I drink whey shake, my stomach is like, what are you
Mm-hmm.
doing? So I cannot do any sort of whey protein. Um, and same thing, like I try to, if I make a protein bar, I try to make my own because I find that a lot of those, I think I ate Quest bars for so many years. My body is like, revolt any bar that you put in your body.
Yeah.
And I just try, I try not to eat a thing with a ton of ingredients in it. And so it's like Lara bars and RX bars I'll eat every now and again, but I try not to like live off of protein bars. But I just made before this, I made like some homemade granola to have because I
Ooh.
also love to bake. So I made some
Mhm.
granola.
Do you share those recipes?
Yes, that one will be.
Okay.
I'm making a video, so it will be up. It is like I was really craving right before my cycle. I'm always craving like chocolate and peanut butter, so I
Hmm.
made like a chocolate peanut butter granola. It's gonna be
That
good.
sounds really, really
So
good.
stay tuned.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Okay, so I have like two or three more questions left, and these are
Okay.
like important questions. So, if you could go back like 10 years when you were getting into bodybuilding and everything else, like what would
Okay.
you say to yourself? Because I feel like a lot of females today, like they're going on Instagram and like they think that they have to lose 20 pounds by drinking water all the
Yeah.
time, or just like one of those like crazy like diet
Yeah.
mentalities. Like, what would
hmm
you say to yourself or to somebody like
I
that?
would say something along the lines of you are like worthy and whole no matter the size of your body
Mm-hmm. And how
or
would
the
you like
weight on the scale.
that's yeah, that's awesome. But how would you like guide them to believe that, or like how would you guide them towards like a healthier lifestyle without
I would focus more and I would try to shift like the mindset focus of like instead of focusing on controlling your weight and controlling like how much you eat, focus on how food and exercise make you feel and spend more time tuning into, the inner heart
yeah.
and what is like happening there because I think that's like it's so easy to get lost in the how you attach your looks to your worth, and your happiness, and you realize like if you're not happy now or you're not working on your happiness now, losing weight or having the perfect body or the perfect diet is not going to ultimately give you this happiness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you could do it again, would you yourself not go into like the bodybuilding world of like competing and stuff like that? 'Cause it's pretty
I
bad,
try not,
right?
yeah, I try not to like have regrets in life or go back and change things because I think
Mm-hmm.
if I didn't go through what I went through, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I didn't have that experience, I wouldn't have been able to become, go on this path that I'm on now. So I
Yeah.
guess I wouldn't then. I think I had to go through that, or I have to, had to have that experience to get where I am today.
For people that are
And it taught
considering
me a
it.
lot. Like bodybuilding, I don't want to put bodybuilding as like this demonizing, terrible thing.
Yeah.
Like it taught me a lot. I met some really great people and I learned a lot. I would never do it again. And if
Mm-hmm.
someone came to me and they said, I really want to do bodybuilding, I would really ask the reasons of why do you want to do this and what do you want to achieve from this? And also getting a good coach because you
Mm-hmm.
have to have a good coach alongside of you if you're going to do something like that.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to ask you of whether you would suggest it to somebody else. Because I feel like I have
Yeah,
mixed feelings about it as well. Because I see a lot of girls who get into like the cycle of restricting food and then the body dysmorphia and it ends up in
it's so
eating
bad.
disorders. And I feel like
Yeah,
once you learn the wrong way, it's so hard to like relearn the way that you learned, which is what I like
it
say all the
is.
time. It's so
Yeah,
hard.
yeah, it is. Like it's truly like even like yeah, like for so many years it was so hard to get out of like weighing my food every day and like
Mm-hmm.
just viewing food as like carbs and fats and proteins and
Mm-hmm.
like not even eating what I enjoyed. And so yeah, I would not usually recommend it if someone is giving me like a really good reason and they have a really valid um way to explain why they're going to do it and their plan and their approach. Like I would say maybe, but for most, especially women, especially
Mm-hmm.
bikini, like our bodies are not meant to be that low in
Yeah.
body fat. So like if you have any history of eating disorders or any history of like hormone or like
Mm-hmm.
hormone issues or period stuff, like I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah. And it's not fun, like losing your period and like having your hormones like
No,
all over the place. It's not fun. It's not
it is not
fun. Yeah.
fun.
Yeah,
Don't
at all.
recommend. Like, focus on your hormones, focus on your gut health. Like, if you focus on those two things and like you will be healthy. You can get those two things like on track, like you will be healthy. And you won't want
Mm-hmm.
at that point, you won't really I think a lot of people do have like emotions have a play too, but like nowadays so many women's hormones and gut are like imbalanced, which is like why the reason that they're like binging and restricting and having these like crazy cravings and like not able to have like kind of the I guess like body they want, like why they're holding on to extra fat, I usually find is because of a gut imbalance or hormone imbalance, which they go hand in hand. If your gut's out of
Mm-hmm.
balance, usually your gut's out of balance, which causes the hormones to become out of balance. So like my first approach with people is gut health.
Yeah, so important. And yeah, like I think one of the things that like I'm scared of is like future generations where it's like what's going to happen? Like we have to prevent eating disorders and I feel like society is just making it worse and worse as we go along, like social media,
Yeah.
just bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Like bodybuilding like you said, it's good. Like I love lifting, but bodybuilding competitions where you put on like a restrictive diet and all that stuff like leads to
Yeah.
more problems. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I don't have an answer and I am also on with you. I am scared for the future
Yeah.
generations because it's like but I'm hoping that I think people are starting to like take a turn and you are seeing more people sort of like call out the big health companies on these,
Yeah.
um, sort of recommendations for a healthy diet. And I think people are starting to turn more into like intuitive eating and listening to your body and gut health and the importance of knowing where your food comes from.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that we can sort of take a turn, but we could learn a lot from Bali.
Yeah, yeah, probably. We all gotta go to
So
Bali. That's the answer to
everybody,
all.
everybody, yeah, that's the answer to your problem. Just go to Bali.
Yeah, yeah. You won't be stressed. You'll eat well. Your gut will be happy.
It's cheap. It's so cheap over there. You won't pay more than like $5 for a nice healthy meal.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Okay, so
Hmm.
last question. So one of the things that this podcast is about is being your best self and like owning who you are, like finding your healthiest and happiest self. Like, what are a few things that
Hmm.
make you like not a standard or unique?
Um, I'm really big into the moon and also
Yeah.
learning to like be in touch sort of, I would not even say with the moon, but just like the elements and like the seasons and like changing again, like with the seasons, like even as a woman, I won't get too into this, but even as a woman, like each of our parts of our cycle are in relation to the season. So like when you're menstruating, that's your winter. And so that's meant to go in, eat more warming foods, you know, and then you're ovulating. That's your summer. That's meant to go out. You know, that's when you can do some high intensity workouts, eat some fresh salads, more berries and nuts and seeds and stuff like that. And so, I really try to incorporate that with like all of my clients and our workouts and what I'm recommending to them. So I try to really bring that. That would be a big one. I'm also very into crystals and the energy of like crystals. So I always have like, I'm usually wearing a crystal or I have crystals next to me or I'm carrying a crystal with me because I believe in like the power of just like the energy. And so like if everything is made up of energy, crystals are meant to sort of, they have different properties. And so like I use those with my meditation, with my yoga practice. I just have them in my space to help like clear energy, or like I will carry like, this is like rose quartz. So this is good for like just loving energy and not even romantic, but like if you have to have a hard conversation or if I'm dealing, you know, in a difficult situation, like I'll carry this one with me just to bring more love and higher vibrations into my own energy. I would say that kind of makes me different from a lot of fitness people.
Yeah, I heard it's like a special moon tonight. That's what I read.
Yeah,
Blue
so
moon or something?
the blue super moon. So it peaked last night, but it's really also super aware tonight. And this is not going to happen until I think again like 2037. And essentially just everything is amplified. So full moons are like a time to release things. So it can be, I always tell people if they're like, what do I do on a full moon? Like one thing you can do is you can put like a big jug of water, you can set it on your windowsill, you can have, they call that just moon water. So essentially it just like takes in the energy of the moon. If you have crystals, charge them by the moon. If you are ready, you know, it can be a great time to write down like, with this moon, I'm ready to release my fears about the future. I'm ready to release this toxic relationship. And you write all of that down and then you just like kind of meditate and you ask the moon to help you release that. So that can be a great thing to do. Any sort of like yoga, meditation, releasing rituals are essentially the full moon energy helps to amplify all of that.
So that's the reason behind my tech issues today.
And yeah, well, that also like when there's a full moon, like if you're feeling more emotional or you're feeling more like anxious, like that can be because of the moon. And people are always like, well, that sounds craziness. But if you think about it, the tides change with the moon. The ocean, the big ocean changes with the moon. And we're made up of 90% water. So I think the moon, I mean, that's my own belief. And so believe what you want. But if you look into it, it's not like this is new age. Like if like centuries ago, they've always done ceremonies with the different cycles of the moon.
Yeah, really cool stuff. I love that. Thanks for sharing.
Cool.
So where can people go to learn more about you?
Yeah, I would say I'm most active on my Instagram. I'm trying to like also get into TikTok, but so do you do TikTok?
I used to. I go on occasionally.
I feel like
the wrong crowd. Like I remember
really?
one person told me that I look sexy with my clothes on, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm out of here.
Next, that's it.
I'm going back to Instagram.
That's crazy.
This girl has integrity.
I don't want that. Oh my gosh. Okay, good to know. Like I
have mixed feelings.
So Instagram, probably the best place, mindbody_grace. I'm active there a lot. And there, under that link, you can directly link to my website. If you're interested in doing any booking, if you're in St. Louis, Missouri, that's where I'm at locally.
Okay, awesome.
Those are the main places.
Yeah, so thank you for being on this podcast. And I just want to
thanks for having me.
For being one of my day ones and supporting me throughout my journey. Even when I didn't believe myself, it really made like such a difference. And I don't know if I would be where I am today without your support. So I just want to say thank you. Yeah, I'm just really excited to continue growing with you, and I hope to meet you in real life. And
yes,
everyone, share this podcast with friends, hit that subscribe button, and follow Grace. Until next time, have a great day.
See ya.
Bye.